code non-aggression. Once that lesson sets in, you'll see a session where you...
NXT, May 9th, 2023, absolutely obliterated the 5-match rule. They had 8. They had 9. They squeezed 9 matches in 2 hours. My goodness. Sheesh. And they still managed to get a lot done. But for Christ's sake, 9 matches in 2 hours, bro. What is this, a wrestling show? I mean, get real, for Christ's sake. All right, so a lot of people want to know what was up with the strike, and I'm going to explain it really quickly in this video, and I'm probably not going to address it too many times afterwards. I uploaded a video. It was a short. It was a short of Tony Atlas being punched and kicked in the head by this lady. And it was his New Year's video. I was posting it to make a comment. I was actually going to add another video to it to kind of make something funny. So I posted it. Immediately I got hit with a content strike. They took it down. So then I appealed and I went about my day thinking, okay, well, my video for Raw is not going to go up. I'll just put it up on Twitter. A couple of hours later, ended up going live on YouTube too. So, I beat the case. So it wasn't, it was still probably worthy of being taken down, but it wasn't worthy of a strike. So I beat the case. All right. So I beat the case. We doing good. All right. Let's get into NXT. Gigi Dolan, Tiffany Stratton. They wrestled in the first match of the first round of the women's title tournament. And they did the thing on NXT that's what they should do on Monday Night Raw. For some reason, whoever is running NXT, one Mr. Shawn Michaels, actually pays attention. Because everybody that was involved with the tournament tonight cut a promo. Wow. I mean, illuminating. I mean, it's just, he's breaking new ground. This is ridiculous. Okay. So they had all the women standing on the stage at first, just all 8 competitors out there. Each one was, I think, standing across from her opponent. And then they just had somebody's music play, and it was Tiffany Stratton. And then, of course, Gigi Dolan, she played next. They played a little box promo. It was short, probably about 45 seconds, where Tiffany Stratton said she should have just been handed the championship. But now she's got to go through this icky tournament, and she's going to end up being the women's champion. Gigi Dolan cut a promo saying that she hopes that Jacy Jayne makes it to the next round so she can kick her face in. But she's going to turn Tiffany Stratton into her personal punching bag. That didn't occur. So Tiffany Stratton defeats Gigi Dolan with the prettiest moonsault ever, which is a triple jump moonsault. I was underwhelmed by this match. It's just, Gigi is not clicking right now. I was more surprised. I wasn't surprised that Tiffany won because I picked Tiffany to win the tournament. But I was more surprised that Gigi lost clean and that they didn't have Jacy Jayne cost Gigi this match. Now, I know that, Tiffany Stratton should win. Again, I picked her to win the tournament, but it's a new thing in wrestling in the last couple of years of just heels winning matches clean. Kind of just killing the baby faces by winning matches clean. And I don't know if I support it. I definitely think that she could have come out stronger if Tiffany Stratton would have cheated. At least put her foot in the ropes or something like that. Beating her clean with her finish just really diminishes Gigi Dolan, I think. But I don't know. I don't know that much. I just know that it was okay. I was thinking it was going to be better than it ended up being, but I don't know. Gigi Dolan might just not have the stuff. She might just be pretty and thick. I don't know. Kiana James, she's talking about her match, which is the same night. She said that she has the most difficult first round opponent, but she also had a difficult first year of NXT. And her first year of NXT, she was checking off all of her goals. And her second year is going to be better than her first. And she's going to start by winning the women's championship. Lyra Valkyria is her opponent. And she had a little bit of a vignette. Lyra Valkyria talked about adapting to this new style, this new concrete jungle, as she said, as she put it. Saying that she wasn't the same person she was when she crossed the Atlantic, and that 3 people have been marked. Kiana James is just the first. So they had a match that Kiana James honestly was in control of most of it. And Lyra Valkyria won with a roundhouse kick. I definitely think it over-delivered a little bit, but it also kind of under-delivered. Kiana James is okay. You know, she's really good. She's working her character really good. Lyra Valkyria hasn't shown much outside of the ring yet. But, again, I've pretty much picked her to go to the finals. So, I expect her and Tiffany Stratton to be the last 2 in the tournament. So, this match was okay. It'll probably be better on a second watch. But it was a solid enough contest. So, both women's matches ended up being fairly solid, I guess, but kind of underwhelming. I don't know why. They didn't feel rushed at all. So, I can't tell you why they felt underwhelming. But JC Jane takes on Roxanne Perez next week. And we got Cora Jade versus Fallon Henley next week. So I fully expect Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade to win their matches. And basically, I'm looking at this thing and saying to myself, they basically just putting the people who are feuding against each other, they're pretty much going to fit those things together, because Cora Jade has been feuding with Lyra Valkyria. So them two having that semifinal round match seems pretty baked in. And Tiffany Stratton and Roxanne Perez, they were starting up a thing. And so it seems like that would be baked in too. And I actually considered that maybe JC Jane would win, but I don't know, Tiffany Stratton versus JC Jane. It would be interesting from a perspective of tournament, which would make sense why you have 2 heels wrestle each other. At the same time, though, why would you really have 2 heels wrestling each other? So, knowing that the heel babyface dynamic is not likely to get broken, you could pretty much tell by who won these matches who's going to win the matches next week. Which is why, tournaments could be used to shake things up a little bit. It's a tournament, it doesn't necessarily have to be babyface versus heel. It could be babyface versus babyface. It could be heel versus heel. You could try to work those things out. It's only one match, for Christ's sake. It ain't going to destroy the paradigm. It's not like the worlds are going to collide and everything is going to break apart. It's a wrestling match. It'll be okay. All right. Moving on from the women's tournament, which, was okay. Joe Gacy is backstage reminding the Dyad that he sacrificed for them, but he will not be ringside for their tag team championship match. His mind and body will be elsewhere. He then told Ava Raine to guide them to victory as he would, which makes a lot of sense because she guided them to a loss. Gallus defeated the Dyad in the match for the tag team championship. I didn't care about this. I don't like the Dyad. They suck. They're boring. And Gallus hasn't really gotten over on the main roster. So it's been, I said main roster. I'm sorry. They haven't gotten over on mainline NXT yet. Still people are kind of wishy-washy on Gallus. So, and plus this is one of those technically heel versus heel matches because Gallus are not baby faces, Speaking of which, the Creed brothers were watching this match, and so was Ivy Nile. The Creed brothers decided to be silly and wear blue masks. I don't know, that's completely out of character for them. But they were wearing blue masks, mocking the schism. And, of course, in, today's modern world, Ivy Nile is all business. She has to set them straight because the boys they're playing around too much. Boys will be boys. So Ivy Nile's got to be the one to set them straight. This is the first time they've done this too. I think they did it like a week or two ago where she had to be the one to, you guys need to focus. What are you guys doing here? And it's like, well, they're they're slacking off, sure, but they win. You lose all the time now, so you should probably chill. But she was super mad at Ava Raine, and I swear to God, I can't remember what she was mad at Ava Raine about. I just don't know. In any event, Ava Raine tried to cheat. Ivy Nile came out there, got in her face. This distracted the dyad, and therefore they lost. Really unfortunate stuff, but it was what it was. I hated the match, to be quite honest. I did not like the dyad. They're so boring, for Christ's sake. Gallus was backstage celebrating, singing songs, and I think it was Gaelic or whatever language these people speak. This is where they bumped into the Creeds, and I think Joe Coffey told the Creeds essentially to keep Ivy on a leash, but he said it in a weird way, and the Creed brothers was like, "Look, I don't understand what you're saying, but I'm gonna take it as a defense. So watch your mouth." And they eventually just walked off, saying they go into the bar, champions only. They're not interested in hanging out with the Creed brothers anymore. This is when I noticed Brutus's haircut, Brutus Creed, and he has an absolutely ridiculous haircut. I liked him so much better when he looked normal, cause he still looked superhuman even when he looked normal. But this spiky shit that he got on top of his head, now he looks like a goddamn goof. He looks like White Blanca, and it's not cool. And I want it to go away. I want it to stop doing what it's doing to me. All right, just stop it. So Gallus goes to the bar and they're drinking because this is what they do. And then they get confronted by Tony D'Angelo and Stax. So Tony D'Angelo reminds them the last time they came in there as friends, and they had some interesting times. Afterwards, Joe Coffey pulled a bat from underneath the bar and put it on the table and said that they need to get out of there. That Stax and Tony D'Angelo need to beat it. So Tony D'Angelo, hey, look, you in the United States now. You don't threaten me. You know who I am. So Joe Coffey picked up the bat and said, like, look, you guys need to get the hell out of here. And I was like, oh, okay. Now, Tony D'Angelo and Stax eventually did leave because they were surrounded by, is Gallus Scottish? I don't know. I don't pay attention anymore. They were surrounded by Gallus-like guys. So they were like, you know what? We're going to take our leave. But, sure, Gallus has just feuded with both of these teams, both the Creed brothers and, Tony D'Angelo and Stax. I think they just defended them in a fatal 4-way against both these teams. I, not a fan of just doubling back, like them beating each team individually now. Like the Dyad was a part of that match too, and now they lost. So now we're going to wrestle, each one of these teams singularly after you've beaten them collectively. Not exactly into that, but I guess they're doing what they can. I don't know. The tag team titles have gotten really stale. Like, I like Gallus, but, who is Gallus? Who are they? Where are they from? What are they doing? Like, we get through the character work, what kind of guys they are. But, they're just painfully normal dudes. And that's one of the major problems we got with wrestling now, is a lot of these dudes are just painfully normal. They're just normal guys. They dress normal, talk normal. We're going to talk about this again in a minute. Pretty soon, actually, because I got a bone to pick with somebody else who's out here dressing normally, as if that's what anybody wants to see. I want to see you dress normal, dude. All right, so Trick Williams, he's in the barbershop, saying he needs to look good for his match against Braun Breaker tonight. Carmelo Hayes says that he's not medically cleared, or he'd fight Braun for him, and Trick Williams was like, nah. I'm doing it for myself, not just doing it for you. I need to prove to myself that I am who I say I am. So he's doing this for personal pride. Like, hey, to prove he is who he say he is. I like this. This is great. This is the character development that we should have been talking about when you talk about character development. This is what you should be talking about. How Trick Williams is like, look, this is for me. Like, yeah, it's for you too, but this is mostly for me. it's time for me to start proving myself. You know, you proved yourself. You're the champion. You're the man. You're my friend and all. But, you know, I got the gift of the gab and the gift of the jab. So I got to prove that. Bron Breakker cut a promo later in the show. He was asked why the new attitude. And he says that for a year, he had the NXT championship on one shoulder and NXT itself, the brand, on another. And the people didn't appreciate it. They chose Carmelo Hayes, and so this is what they're going to get. And ultimately, he's tired of this, and he doesn't feel like he should have to answer for it. So then he says, hey, you want this interview? How about this? He's going to send Trick Williams to the same hospital that he sent Carmelo Hayes to. I was like, ooh la la. I like the intensity from this young Bron Breakker. This is a good kid. He knows what he's doing. I like the cut of this kid's jib. I really do. All right. Main event, match 9. Good Christ. Trick Williams versus Bron Breakker. Match was solid, you know. As far as Trick Williams matches goes, it's probably the best match he's had. He showed a lot of skill, I guess you could say. He just has such tremendous charisma, and the mic work is there, like 100. The ring work is where he's gonna need some time. So him being in the main event was fun for me. I liked it. He did like this cartwheel and the yank up into the rock bottom. It was actually fairly interesting. But he kept getting shut down because Bron Breakker is playing big boy ball. He's like spearing Trick Williams and putting him in the standing recliner, and Trick Williams submitted. But it was a hard fought match for Trick. It was actually went overtime. This match went like 5 or 6 minutes over. They had a significant overrun for NXT this week. It was pretty good overrun. After the match, Bron Breakker puts Trick Williams back into the standing recliner. Carmelo Hayes ran out there to help, and he ends up getting speared again into his injured ribs that he's already not medically cleared to compete. So they legitimately getting some real heat on Bron Breakker by having him take out Carmelo again and again. So this is good. I like this. Trick Williams is a good foil. He's somewhat sympathetic, you know, so you can appreciate what they're doing with Trick Williams. And you can look at Bron Breakker and tell that he is absolutely thriving in the heel role. You know, maybe he should have been a heel from the beginning. I'm not one of those people who thinks that you can't start everybody as a heel. Somebody got to start as a babyface, for Christ's sake. But he definitely is thriving off of people already not liking him. So it's already working out for him, you know. Okay. Let's move on. Thea Hale is pumped up as always. She wants to know how she did on the pop quiz, even though last week we were told there was no more pop quiz as long as Duke was taking over Chase University. Big Body Javi, he shows up and says that, is there a class on getting into the women's title tournament? If so, then Thea Hale failed it. She got in his face with her fist all balled up. You know, she's getting all scrappy do on him. Duke Hudson slid in, claiming to only be a substitute teacher, but Javier Bernal definitely thinks that Duke Hudson is up to no good and that he's trying to destroy Chase University from the inside. This led to Duke Hudson saying Duke University again, but correcting himself. You know, these Freudian slips. For some reason, this ended up in a match between the two. You know, Duke Hudson and Javier Bernal. And Duke Hudson wins with the razor's edge. Look, I don't think we needed this. Not every confrontation needs to end in a match. To me, because Duke Hudson is a heel, you didn't need to have this match. I get that he's pretending that he's a babyface and he's going to stand up for the honor of Duke University or whatever. But you still don't need to fight Javier Bernal. You know, like, to me, I like Javier Bernal. I think he has charisma. You know, he's going to come along in the ring, as they all will. But he's got the basic building blocks where he's got something to build off of. I just don't feel like they should have had this match. This is one of those matches I felt like we could have left it at home. You know, we didn't really need this. Okay. Moving on. They had a screen where somebody in a hoodie is watching security cameras, the parking lot where, the girls have been attacked, and it's all the footage of the girls being attacked, Sol Ruka, Wendy Chu, etc. And it's always like somebody's watching. And I say, like, how many times has this gimmick actually worked? They've been trying this gimmick for 30 years, maybe? From GTV to all the different, Big Brother type of gimmick, the retribution gimmick where, all these guys were, I'm always watching. I see everything. Does this ever work? No, it never works. It never turns out good. It always sucks. This is, to be quite honest, it's probably Stevie Turner. And you probably say, who? That's because she popped up doing a podcast type gimmick for a couple of weeks, and I think she got hurt, and then she disappeared. So I'm guessing that's who this is going to be. This is going to be Stevie Turner. But ultimately, some people think it's going to be Blair Davenport. Okay, I guess. I don't necessarily like that. I like the character she had when she came over. So I don't think this is going to work. This unless this is a person watching their own handiwork. If this is going to be some kind of hacker, Big Brother, my eye is on you, I see everything, blackmailer, extortionist, or something like that, it's going to turn to shit. Because that's usually what happens with these silly gimmicks. So, we'll see. Von Wagner and Robert Stone, they're becoming buddies. They're doing rapid fire question and answer. What's your favorite donut and all this kind of stuff. And then, Robert Stone pulls out the picture of a sick baby. To which Von Wagner was like, look, man, I told you I don't want to talk about that. Some random guy walked up and Von Wagner basically almost choked him to death. And then, Robert Stone saw the anger, the vitriol, the frustration of young Von Wagner. And, he went back to talking about what his favorite cereal is and all this kind of stuff. All right. So I see what they're doing here with Von Wagner. Despite the fact that he's supposed to be some kind of free agent, meaning he could go to the main roster, he's still floating around NXT to continue his character stuff, which is fine, except, how is this going to transition to him working Raw and SmackDown? That's what I want to know. Like, is he going to be working all three brands? Is he only going to be on NXT? Is he going to be doing NXT and SmackDown, NXT and Raw? Like, how is this going to work? Because this angle is going to require some kind of finality to it, where either he's going to have a falling out with Robert Stone and move on, or they're going to have a rejuvenated friendship, but the people who don't watch NXT is not going to know what's going on. So, gotta admit, I'm flummoxed. Like, what's the end game here? The end game is clearly for Von Wagner to dig deeper and not, be so quick to give away, surface level stuff like, who his father is and what his favorite, game is and all this kind of stuff, and actually talk about some real issues, which is, what they're leaning into here. But maybe save this for the main roster, where it might matter and it might make sense and it might help him get over, as opposed to NXT. I mean, you've already called him up. If he's a free agent and he can be on Raw or SmackDown at any time, then he's essentially already called up. So we could just save the big reveal over, what kind of illness did he have as a kid? Just save that for the main roster. It might be able to get him some sympathy or something. I don't know. I'm just talking. Speaking of just talking, I don't know if we needed this. Eddie Thorpe versus Damon Kemp. Look, it was solid enough. I still don't see the big deal with Eddie Thorpe as being a guy who came from New Japan. Damon Kemp is actually okay. His issue is always going to be promo. And he's got a giant DK on his stomach. I just keep thinking Donkey Kong. Like, when I see DK, I think of Donkey Kong, those barrels in Donkey Kong Country. When you get and you get shot out of the barrel cannon into another barrel cannon, and you collect bananas. Oh, banana. So that shit, like, every time I saw a DK on the screen, I just kept thinking, oh, banana. And I was like, oh God, Why you have DK large as life on your goddamn stomach? Please. I'm telling you, it's so lazy. I hate the goddamn initials. I hate it. Eddie Thorpe wins. He wins with kind of funky elbow drop. And, you know what? He's too new for me to give up on him, but I can tell you, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the EDM, Indian, you know, I'm sorry, First Nations guy, if that's what you want to call it. I don't call it that. I call them Indians, you know, engines, bang, bang. I don't know. Not a fan. Moving on. Dijak, Ilya Dragunov. This is one of the matches that was actually built up on TV. And they gave him a decent amount of time. This is the 5th match on the show. Dijak basically throws the match in the trash by attacking Dragunov with a chair. He got disqualified just to hit Dragunov with the chair one time. He just got to hit him one time with this chair. Absolutely lousy finish. But the match was solid enough. It was physical. Because both of these guys aren't really doing much of anything, I can see why they did the disqualification. Because why move away from it? Why give a free and clear finish and then have no reason to have a rematch? So what they did was they gave us a reason to have a rematch, which is fine, you know. These two guys were really hitting hard and it was really physical. So I'm okay with this. We could continue this. Wesley is backstage with Tyler Bate and says that he gave Tyler Bate his credit for having his back last week against Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey, and says he's going to return the favor. Tyler Bate is not listening because he's meditating in a smoky room. And I wanted to kick both of these people in the face. Tyler Bate sucks. All right. I'm tired of just saying he's good in the ring. Look, he's a fucking muscular midget. He fucking sucks. Okay. This guy has had no fucking personality for 5 or 6 years he's been in WWE. And this is the closest thing that he got to a character is that he meditates. Look, how painfully fucking boring is this guy? Dude, you don't do anything for fun? Like, what the fuck? Like, what do you do for fun? I like to meditate. Oh, no, that's not interesting. I'm sorry. Are you a boring dude? Please do something else. Like, I know that people are tired of the fantasy elements, and I know Jim Cornette and Brian Lasson. Why is everybody doing so many fantasy elements? It's like, because if they don't, then we get shit like this. Like, who the fuck wants to watch this guy meditate and then go out and have work rate matches? That's fucking boring. This kid sucks. This guy's not even 30. He's like 25 or something like that, and he's the most boring dude on the fucking show. He got all the potential in the world outside of being short as shit. I think he's like 5'6" or something like that. 5'7". But no personality. He's not exuding bigger energy. Like, he doesn't come across as being a star, you know? And it's sickening to me that we have to deal with this stuff. He's coming across like just another guy on the roster. But he's a guy on the roster that has absolutely nothing going for him. Anyway, Wesley and Tyler Bate go to the ring, and Tyler Bate's opponent is Charlie Dempsey. This is the match that I actually was looking forward to. I wish they had put a little bit more time into it, because, like I said, Tyler, despite the fact that I just went on like a 3 minute rant about how Tyler Bate is the shits, he is a good wrestler. And Charlie Dempsey is a good wrestler, despite the fact that, I mean, him not having a personality actually fits his gimmick, because he's wrestler guy, so he doesn't really need to have like a uber personality. He's definitely going to be a mechanic in the future. So Charlie Dempsey versus Tyler Bate had good potential in terms of mechanics. But here is where Joe Gacy appears. So Joe Gacy shows up to confront Wesley. Apparently he wants a North American title match and chose just this point in time to come out here and ask for it. Drew Gulak then appears on the other side of Wesley. You know, Wesley is looking at both of them. He gets knocked down as I think Charlie Dempsey or Tyler Bate or whoever came through the ropes, knocked everybody down. At this point, Joe Gacy sucker punches Tyler Bate, and Charlie Dempsey wins the match. I'm fine with Charlie Dempsey winning. I think that's the right move. What I didn't like was that Tyler Biddy is boring as shit. That's what I don't like. Joe Gacy being a contender for the North American title. Okay, that makes sense. I expect Wesley to win, but it's fine as far as the match is concerned. It'll probably be a triple threat match though, and I don't like that idea. I tell you, I don't like that idea. I hate triple threat matches. But that's what it feels like. That's the direction that we're going in. All right, Danny Palmer's backstage. She's asking for pointers, even though she won her match. She wants to know how she did. And so Briggs and Jensen are there to, they're near a training ring because they're doing all this, everybody's friends backstage stuff. And they give her some pointers of what she can change. And Hank and Tank are there. Hank Walker and Tank Ledger. They said they want to test themselves, and they challenged Briggs and Jensen to a match. And I was like, please don't have this match. Please don't have this match. And they had the match. I was like, God damn it. We can't save nothing. So Briggs and Jensen defeat Hank and Tank in a match in which Tank lost one of his teeth. Like, I think one of his front teeth got knocked out, and he pulled it out of his mouth. I don't know if it was already out, and maybe this was a fake tooth because I didn't see any blood. So maybe it was a fake tooth that got knocked out. Maybe it was a tooth that was already loose or something like that. But it was crazy. Afterwards, Briggs and Jensen shook hands with Hank and Tank, and everybody's reset. Everybody's still friends. I was like, fuck. This is pointless. This is pointless as shit. Why on earth would you need to have them? This match didn't need to occur. It really didn't. I mean, fuck. All right, so Dragon Lee's backstage, and he's going to cut a promo about Noam Dar, about how Noam Dar doesn't care about anything except his Heritage Cup and his ego. But Dragon Lee's wearing like this really boring shirt. It's like a really boring shirt. And I'm just like, why does everybody in NXT dress like somebody you see at Five Below? Like, pretty much everybody in NXT just wears like regular clothes. You're like, my goodness. Like, I know that we give Seth Rollins shit for the stuff that he wears, but at least he stands out. The old Jimmy Hart adage. If you dress like everybody else, they treat you like everybody else. Seth Rollins got over it by looking like a fucking moron every week. I'm talking chaps, women's clothes. I mean, it helped, that people don't understand the gimmick and they just kind of rolling with it. But he dresses loud. Like the old days of wrestlers dressing loud with, tassels and spandex and, everything just jumping off the page. I miss those days because we're looking at a guy like Dragon Lee who could do that. Lucha Libre allows for color and flash. And it's actually, one of the central components of Lucha Libre. And they put him in the most boring, casual, I work in an office sweater that I've ever seen. I'm like, what the fuck? This dude looks like somebody I see at the copy machine in the office. Like, this doesn't look like a pro wrestler, This is like a guy who looks like an administrative assistant. What? And he's wearing a mask. Like, why are we doing this? He should be wearing like glittery stuff or whatever, I don't know, man. But his English is good, so that works out. Speaking of, his English is better than Noam Dar's English. Anyway, Noam Dar interrupted, said he wanted to give Dragon Lee an opportunity that was going to make him the envy of the rest of the roster. He was going to make him the first guest on his new show, Supernova Sessions, which was a show that he had on NXT UK. So it's just Miz TV for Noam Dar. And I don't know if NXT is ready for this. Matter of fact, I don't know if NXT even wants this. Because most people have no idea who Noam Dar is. And it's going to give you a good opportunity to figure out who he is. But I'm just kind of, I don't know. I'm not so big on everybody having a talk show. Like, I hate that, the Piper's Pit thing worked out so well because then it had the Heartbreak Hotel and the Snake Pit and the Honky Tonk Hotel and what was the other one? The Graveyard thing with Paul Bearer. It's just everybody had a fucking show. It's like, not everybody needs to have a show, man. not everybody needs to have their own specialized talking segment. You know, it's not really necessary. You know, it works for certain characters like The Miz. You know, it works for certain characters like Roddy Piper. You know, for Kevin Owens, it's just stupid. It doesn't work. Okay. For Edge, I didn't think it worked. None of this stuff feels different from any of the rest of their promo segments. So, I don't know. But, Noam Dar's, his show actually does feel different from a regular, promo segment. But I just don't feel like it's necessary. And I definitely don't think he's good enough on the microphone to carry a talk show. You know, he's condescending as hell, but he's not like super charismatic. He's funny though. He can be funny. But this is, you know, wasn't the only time we talked about Noam Dar. He also got a mention on Nathan Fraser's hard-hitting home truths, which is his talking segment. Again, everybody needs to have a talking segment. What the fuck? Anyway, Nathan Fraser talked about 17 superstars were drafted over the last couple of days, and spots have opened up. And he says, but for who? And he starts talking about the diversity of NXT and saying that one person has carved out a spot for themselves, and that is Noam Dar. And of course, this is where he starts talking about Supernova Sessions, because he was actually on Supernova Sessions in NXT UK, which is a good tie-in. You know, that's good. I like that they showed memory there. He's already been a part of Noam Dar's foolishness. So he's kind of telling everybody what to expect, which is Noam Dar foolishness. I wish they would bring his what was the name of the guy that he was with in NXT UK? He was great. He was like the he was like the Eddie Kingston of NXT UK. He never won, but he was always loud and he was always entertaining. What the fuck was his name? But he was like Noam Dar's best buddy in NXT UK. Oh, what was his name? They should have brought him with him. Like, this show works with that guy. If you got him and Noam Dar, he works. His name was Shy Samuels. That was his name. So a little edit here. I had wrapped the video up and then I went to Twitter and I saw that some people had apparently, people who follow, Gigi Dolan. She tweeted out or put on Instagram that I miss being PK. In other words, I miss being Priscilla Kelly. I don't know what that means. A lot of people are, jumping to conclusions that she's unhappy, that she wants to go and all this kind of stuff. Who the hell knows? And who the hell cares, to be quite honest? She has not shown that much in this role in terms of being Gigi Dolan, which is essentially herself, I guess you could say. The character is leaning very heavily on her own personality and her own life story. She was on, My Big Fat Greek Wedding. She's talking about being a gypsy. She's talking about the abuse that she dealt with, how her parents, were not interested in her being a wrestler. All this stuff is very real, So I have a hard time and some people have said that she posted this before and it didn't amount to anything. So maybe it's a character change. Maybe it's a change in attitude. Who knows what it's going to be. But I just thought it's interesting to add to this. Because you know how people like to speculate. And I'm in a position where outside of her getting actually better in the ring, I don't know what else she really needs. Like, her promos are improving. She didn't talk a lot when she was in Toxic Attraction. So that's kind of a focus that she needs to actually talk. But who knows? She might be a person that actually, blooms a little bit more, on the main roster. Or maybe she just ain't got it and she's better fit for the indies. Who knows? But, would we put Gigi Dolan in pretty girl, no personality sort of box? Now, people have said that Cora Jade should be in that box. I say, look, Cora Jade actually tries, she actually tries to have better promos. She tries to have a different look. She tries to approach things differently. Yes, she looks like Sky Blue with the sneakers and the hat and everything. All the things that I'm tired of. The tomboy look, but she actually does try. And Gigi tries too. She looks differently with the silly hat, the hat with the rose and everything. It comes across as being different. The issue here is, again, you're dealing with a pretty girl who is fairly young, but she's actually been through some stuff. At least with Gigi Dolan, she's been through shit. So we're looking at it and saying to ourselves, what's missing? What's not clicking here? It's not her fault that Mandy Rose got fired and, Toxic Attraction was broken up. That's nobody's fault. At the same time, though, you would think she would be able to bloom a little bit more as a solo act, because that's what she was on the Independent. She was by herself. So if she really does miss being Priscilla Kelly, maybe there's elements of that character, that she wants to bring in or whatever. But for me, just for me, the only one I could talk about here, that seemed to be more shock and awe, because that's really what the indies is all about, is how you can get attention on yourself. And being Tampon Girl is how she got a lot of attention on herself. I'd never heard anybody say she was having such great matches. And plus, a great match on the indies is like she wrestled a guy and took like 2 clotheslines, and all of a sudden it was a great match or whatever. They just have a different standard of good and great and stuff like that. So it's interesting to discuss, but I don't see how it's really going to change much of anything. She needs to really work on her performances. So maybe she's unhappy and she's trying to get out. If that's the case, I say let her go. I'm always in the let them go camp, because they're not going to change much. If she goes over to AEW, then what? What is she going to do differently? Not much of anything. She's probably just, Tony Storm American version. Thick as hell, pretty, no personality. So I'm not so sure I'm willing to push Gigi Dolan fully into the no personality camp, but she's dangerously close. She's on the edge. Like, her and Cora Jade are on the edge of the no personality, because they do have some personality, just not a lot, just not enough, let's say. Not enough to jump off the page and get into your face, And that's becoming a bigger issue in NXT as a whole, which is why I mentioned it a little bit earlier, that, all these people who are dressing normal and talking normal, it's like, I don't know how we got into this super normal era of wrestling, where we probably should just abandon that altogether and get more into the outrageous, the big larger than life characters, the big larger than life personalities, which is what everybody got into wrestling. Like, you listen to people talk about wrestling and they always talk about the bigger, larger than life characters. They don't ever talk about these boring people who dress boring and look boring and talk boring. That's why, you have these female wrestlers who like, my favorite wrestlers were the Bella Twins. It's like, okay, it's not Medusa at all. It's the Bella Twins. Why? Because the Bella Twins were big, larger than life personalities. Like, yeah, they wore the stupid hats and the gym shoes and everything, but it was, at the very least, they were big personalities in terms of charisma and character and stuff. We need to get back to that. So if that's going to be what she's thinking, that she wants to have a bigger character, more character, maybe less herself, I'm fine with that. If she's just longing to go back to the independents, well, I say cut her loose. You're better off. There's tons of people in the PC who are not getting enough reps on TV, and you've been pushing Gigi Dolan for 2 months almost as a solo act, and it hasn't clicked yet. So I don't know. Hopefully this is just it's time to kick things up a notch and stop being so nice, or maybe it's a cry for help. Who knows? Maybe, how wrestling fans, we always like to read too much into things. Another edit. So The Rock did an interview where he talked about wrestling saving his relationship with his daughter. So, he was on The Pivot and he said, quote, I had so much shit going on, so I like to say me and Simone grew up together. We had a relationship where I was always gone, but we tried to keep it together. Now, years later, as she becomes a pro wrestler, it's actually brought us closer together. So in a way, it helped save the relationship too. In many ways, pro wrestling has been my family's savior. So, the story of The Rock by now, both sides of his family has been in the wrestling business for a long time. You know, brought his family together. You know, his mom was in the business, his dad was in the business, they worked in the business, then he comes in and he's only got $7 in his pocket, you know, the old gimmick that he likes to go through. And, it, you know, sustains him throughout his career. It sustains his various cousins and, uncles and etc. And now his daughter, you know, is rebuilding his relationship with his daughter. And I can tell you that, you know, this pro wrestling thing is very interesting. It's a very interesting business in that way. You know, I hear about that mostly only in sports, really. You know, when dad is not around a lot, you really only get it when you get in the family business. Do you understand why dad wasn't around so much? And, in this situation, you know, she could always go to him for tips, and even though they're doing something completely different, there's still things that for her to learn from him. And I'm glad to see that it's brought them together personally. That's very sweet. And so we choose to end on that sweet note. What do you guys think? Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.
MagMongoSlade. Best house I ever drew down.